Alright, finally. Get to work on the quarter panels and actually maybe get them on, hopefully before Christmas, which would be nice. So yeah, basically it's going to be the trials and tribulations of me trying to fit the passenger side quarter panel. Driver side is pretty much already there because from previous attempts, so before cutting stuff apart, just to kind of get an idea of how I was going to do it, especially when it comes to this side. As you see, I already cut the one off already. One along, clean up along in here. This, I need to get some sheet metal to fix the rust up in here, sand everything, all that fun stuff. Alright guys, let's get it on. Last video you saw me weld the trunk filler panel on, the hinges, put torsion bars in afterwards, just kind of screwing around with that a little bit. That's an absolute pain. I don't think I'll have them in there right. And if I do have them in there right, I think they're actually super weak because they're, what, 50, what year is it? 51 years old. So, yep, yet again, another thing I gotta buy new. And also in the meantime, my new tongs came in from my spot welder, so I was able to finish spot welding the trunk floor drop off all the way up and in. Still got to do the other side because it's actually easier to do to get up inside of here to get the tongs in there to finish the spot welding. So yeah, some of the things so far I had to do. Take the camera over and show you on the quarter panel. Yeah, there we go. On the passenger side, driver side, I had to slice this a little bit here, hammer it out flat. I had to do the same on this. I just put the slice in there yet, which I need to do. The other thing is, this is going to get trimmed to clear a bracket on the tail panel. And then on the driver's side, right in there, I also had to trim this little flange off from, I'm guessing the stamping AMD. I don't remember being on the other quarter panel. There are things I had to do, or on the factory quarter panel. There are things I had to do was hammer this, make the radius tighter in here. So say it was like a quarter inch radius bend going that way. I just took my hammer and dolly and just tightened it to make it more like an 1/8 inch. Since it was a little bit extra material from AMD, I gotta flatten that out or straighten that out a little bit more. Where is it? There we go. On that area there, trim that off, and then I had to tighten the radius up on here also to make it fit up against the rocker. Other notable things I need to do is from AMD, I won't be able to see it because it's the EDP coating. I guess when they made this quarter panel, they were in Taiwan, I think. It's split here, so they MIG welded it, and there's a huge bead of MIG weld out there that I need to grind down. Oh yeah, so that's pretty much it for that, I think. Yeah, I think. All right. So what I gotta do is trim this a little bit more so it fits in the recess of the rocker panel. Trim this a little bit in here, and the other weird thing is too, hold on, let me get a light. All right, now I got a light on it. The other weird thing is that this is the end of the tail panel here. Is the need to trim this here. It's a little bit too long. I think on a previous video I posted that if you look up Amazing Metalworks, guy named Juby Mays said how he does it on the 67 to 9 Camaros. He trims this back pretty tight, and he's able to get it set up against the quarter panel a lot better, and he's got to splice the quarter panel itself to make the radius tighter. Yeah, to make it tighter so it all fits together. You get a nice even gap. So alright, let me get to trimming and cutting and hammer and doweling and all that stuff. So after doing a little bit of work, went ahead and put the bumper back on, make sure all this is located where it needs to be. So I gotta get the tail panel to go in about a 1/16 of an inch, eighth of an inch. I may have to split that. We'll see. Yeah, same thing with the other side. Everything I read is pretty tricky over here to get this stuff to lay like it should with the aftermarket panels. But the reason why I put the bumper back on, there's a bracket on the inside for the bumper bracket. And I wanted to make sure that was in the right spot to set the height of the tail panel drop off. Just tail panel drop off comes off and you can bend that up and down with your hand pretty easily. So I want to get that in there, push it down as far as you can go to make sure that I have enough room, everything's level, basically get the car back together. So yeah, I got to drill a couple holes in there to locate the bracket, so I can get the camera in there and try to get the holes drilled in there. The trick I'm going to do is my little 90 degree, if not, I have a little smaller 90 degree one that I appropriated. Alright, let's get to drilling those things, drilling the bumper support bracket and the couple of tap screws in there. So yeah, this is the next thing I did. Like, you know what? Let me stop here and go grab the rear windshield. And as you see, it fits like it did originally. Some of the butyl that was on there still left. I didn't clean it off so I could see exactly where it was. And you can kind of see down in there. Zoom in and you can see that's exactly right where it was for there, which is good. So me measuring and the distance from up there, down there, kept the overall windshield, rear windshield, I guess that'll be length. Yeah, because the width will be left to right. And along up in here, I don't know, focus dude. There we go. It's the same all the way around. A little bit of big gap up in here, but ain't much of shit I could do about that. I know from the factory these were installed with butyl, and over time it dries out. But hopefully this time around when I go get reinstalled, I'll use urethane on it, just so we can add some strength to it. Oh yeah, cool. So alright, that tells me quarter panels are where they need to be for the most part. Yeah, I can probably tighten the gaps up a little bit, but still just getting the trim put back on there. Unless I feel like spending the money and getting the Fessor glass, but I don't feel like spending $1,700 on glass that I already have, because $1,700 is, well, that's go past parts, or that's a set of rear tire. The rims I want for, almost, actually, 2/3 of the rims that I want for this. Just for glass. I mean, it's $150, $200, $200 for a windshield. That I can deal with. So cool. All right. I think it's gonna be time to start permanently drilling holes in these guys, just to make sure they go. Because I kind of like where this is at. Doors lines up, gaps down there are pretty good. Yeah, how about we start doing that? I'll start with the passenger side since all my stuff's over there. Because I do want to take this one off one more time, one or two more times to do some more work to it. So yeah, I'll pop this guy off, put it back down in the basement so I don't break it. And then get to drilling some holes on the passenger side quarter panel. Cool. Probably get to put this thing on. It's been a hot minute. It's been like almost a year now working on this. So yeah. Anyways, gonna fill up in here. There's back up in here. There's a couple holes. I got to figure out how I'm gonna locate them. I'm gonna clamp it, get in the backside, spray it with some like white spray paint to highlight the holes in the back here, for where the pass-through holes are for the chrome trim that goes on. But for the time being, before I take that off, so I get back to the same spot. Previously, there was it looks like I think it was about every inch and a half, whatever. Figure it out as you go. Hole, and I think an inch was as much, probably, yeah, inch and a half. So, project this to, yeah, that looks about right. Just eyeball it. Yeah, it's about every 1.5 inches. Just the other, there was a spot weld down in here that I cut out from when we took the quarter panel off. Yeah, there we go. That looks more correct. There and there. And then up along in here, it was about every inch. Like legitimately, it was a hell of a lot of spot welds in here. Doing my spot welder, but it's not enough to get through the thickness of here, or I can't reach around in here like the factory did. So let's continue on. Get one up here at quarter radius, that way I can make it look pretty. Hey, as long as it looks pretty, that's all that matters. So alright, let's get to drilling some holes and put some tap screws in there, and that way everything can stay into place. I know there's a couple in here also. There's like probably, I think, remember the factory only had 1, 2, 3, like 4 welds in here to hold that one. So get those. I'm not going to drill, put screws in through here. When the panel's off, I'll just drill them through the panels, the quarter panel itself, and just clamp it and weld it and grind it. So that way I might put holes through the inner structure there where the door latch goes. So that way that still can move freely. So I get my drill. Got another drill now finally, after I fix my other one. Then that way I can just drill and get her in. Alright, enjoy the time lapse. Alright, moving on. I gotta put a slice here because for some reason the quarter panel is bunching up there. Like I said, I think this was a more poor, well, I would say a poor stamping, but one of the not as good stampings AMD is supposedly giving out. This is already drilled and cut and twisted and grinded on this thing. Can't send it back. It's also been 9-10 months since I bought it, so I should have had plenty of time to look it over. Oh well, get stuck with what we got. Alright, put the holes through here. I'm doing every 2 inches, and I'm going to stop like right about in here somewhere, because I still want that tail panel, trunk panel drop off, trunk floor panel, trunk drop off in there. I still want that to move around because I want to be able to get the rear cross member extension back into place, which requires taking off the tail panel. There we go. So yeah, alright, every 2 inches, hole, I'm going to drill around in here, stop right about in here, and put screws in it. Alright, let's do that. Enjoy the time lapse. All right, got that located in there, a little slice for where the metal bunched up, because I have no idea why. So I think the stamping is shit from AMD. So all right, the next thing I'm gonna do is take the rear bumper off and get that rear crossmember extension piece kind of fit into place. So yeah, let's move on to that next project. Yeah, it's not so fun part, trying to fit this thing. Yeah. So, some of the stuff I had to do on the other side was reshape this particular piece. And you would think, you know, from where it comes from, I get this. Classic Industries, this particular one. It's great on the back side here. That'd be like ideal. I really, I mean, I can't complain about the fit from the back side. But unfortunately, it's not the case, and that actually goes in front of the tail trunk pan drop off and the quarter panel, but in front of the rear cross member. So it fits up in there like this. And you can tell you got a little bit of a bend here for where everything meets in. Not only that, there's a little hump there too for where the exhaust comes out. And it's also on the tail pan too. So this guy kind of fits up there like that. Find a clamp. And I kind of already had it up in there a little bit before. So put this guy in there. But one of the problems is when they stamp the quarter panel, all the metal bunched up in there, and that's what I was fighting when it was off the car. Not only that, see, when we stamped it up there in this area, remember we had to cut it, trim it, and all that stuff, and had to slice it on the other side to make it fit. Is also I got to hammer that stuff flat. Alright, hammer that flat real quick and put this back in and see how it fits. But I think I have to, yeah, looks like I'm going to have to hammer and dolly the quarter panel too to make it actually fit better for the contour of the trunk pan drop off. Alright, yet again, more YouTube music and time lapse. help facilitate the quarter panel to get back in place and the tail panel right to straps. I mean, that's not a lot of tension putting on these things, just enough to hold stuff into place. So what I do is on the frame rail where the bumper support bracket is in the back here, I will hook onto that guy. And just drape it over. I was putting it through the light hole here, the terminal light hole, but I bent it in too much. Oops. Which doesn't really matter because I already hammered it out. It's only a slight thing. And then to give it some strength underneath, I just put it in the tie down hole. And get a clamp. Because you don't, it slides along. And you can that clamp is like super loose, so it should help slide with the quarter panel. As the quarter panel slides in, you can slide up against the trunk panel drop off. You can see that pretty much brings it right in, nice and tight. And I'm going to do the same thing for the the tail panel here, hooking onto where the hole was for where the outer wheel house locates with. So I'll take that, drip it across, and jam it up against the frame rail. Where did we go? Cool. So the tail panel's sticking out a little bit. We do some hammer and die work on the quarter panel. But I'm gonna grab the camera, shove it up on the inside here, and then show you what I mean by where the that little extension piece actually got to be trimmed, I think. Quarter panel's got to be trimmed. That's why I didn't put the tap screw, tap screws in, just clamp the tail panel into place this time. All right, blue camera. All right, so you can see up in there, get my hand out of my way here. This is the strap that's holding the tail panel up in there. This got to get clamped up in there better. I need a hammer and dolly this around to make it the contour better. But you can see, this is the extension where it's always hard up against the cross member. But the quarter panel, like that, there we go. Up in here, it's like, looks like a good 300–400 thousandths long. So what we're going to do is we're going to take my scribe and scribe down the here. I don't know how much to take off, or at least not as much, but something to take off up in there. What sucks is I got to take the tail panel off, take the cross member off, or take the something off. At least it's just clamped into place. One thing at a time. Alright, that's looks like to be up next. So, like I said, after some grinding and manipulating and stuff, I can actually push all this stuff in by hand now to get the quarter panel in to meet the tail panel. I mean, it's a bit of work to do it like that. I mean, I don't want perfect gaps, I really don't, but I want workable. I mean, right out of the gate, this is workable. You know, a little bit of filler, I can just take the file, fill that in, and it'll make it, you know, nice and tight like the rest of the cars are. There's a show, I'll show you a picture of something I found on the interwebs of how if you don't take your time to do it, it looks like crap. Take a look at it. This is why I'm spending all the time down in here to get this somewhat workable and close. I still might hammer and dolly this a little bit more to bring this angle in a little tighter. I have to split it up there where it gets welded up to the, well, where they welded it from the AMD up to here. It's because it's bent over and then weld it to the the top part up here. Hammer and dolly to make that radius a little tighter. And the same thing with down there, and then it might actually take away, actually won't need as much filler. So yeah, that's done. Next up is, let's see here. Close the shutter a little bit here. There we go. Up along here, I gotta drill a few holes to where it goes down to the lower front floor panel. And then up in here, this radius here sucks. It's tighter here and it's looser down here on the tail panel. So I'm probably gonna have to slice it from here to over, put a split in it, clamp it, and re-tack weld it over like I did on the corner of the driver's side quarter panel in this area here. Cool, all right, so drilling up here will be up next. All right, before I move on to the drilling the holes up in the lower deck floor panel, I'm going to see how much more room there is and how it fits the radius better and whatnot. I will have to get a long drill bit so I can get in there and pop a couple holes through the cross member extension, and then one like right up in here, so I can go through the tail panel and suck all that stuff in. Yeah, maybe I'll do that next. Yeah, I'll definitely do that next, and then go do the tail panel drop hole, or do the lower floor panel. Alright, so like I said, next thing up was going to be drilling the holes in here. This hole I blew out, so I had to put a 1/4" bolt in there with an Allen key head, so got that nice and tight. This was where I was prying with a 3/16 punch to pull over quarter panel and get in place. And then once I ripped through that, drilled another hole through there to do the same thing and put another self-tapper in there. So I have to get to the point where I need to drill some holes in this to get to the quarter panel to the lower deck filler panel we just replaced. What I'm going to do is kind of eyeball it, like I usually do, and I get a pretty good idea. But one thing is the filler panel only comes back to about here in this area. So I'm trying to stay, I guess, about a 1/2 inch up from there. Look at that. For where I already have this screw there. Center it, center it, center it. So that'll be 1, 2, 3. We'll do that there. 4, 5, maybe 6, 7 for those little guys. If I remember right from when I took this off, there was 1, 2, and then we'll do 3 in there. All right, get the drill the holes, put the self-tappers in there. And the other thing I did was I took my ratchet strap here, I just have it set up against this to help pull this in a little bit, the quarter panel, because it's like 5/30 seconds up here gap from the deck lid, and same about down here, but it's a little bigger in the middle, so I was trying to pull that over. Doesn't really matter. Even do keep the stock steel deck lid on here, I can always, you know, manipulate it, shave it, do whatever I got to do. Or even if I go with like what I really want, the Anvil carbon fiber lid, with the fiberglass base but the carbon outer, I can always grind it anyway to make it fit. And the reason why I'm going to grind it, or I can grind it and get away with it and not really see the exposed carbon, is it's going to get painted with the racing stripes, but leaving the carbon exposed for the racing stripes. Should look cool, man. In my head, hopefully. All right, let's get the drilling. A little bit more time lapse, a little bit more screwing stuff in, and then see how we go from there.